Nathan had already given David good advice on a variety of subjects when he dropped in at court that faithful day. As a trusted advisor, he had already contributed significantly to the success of David's rule. And even though David did not invite Nathan to edit this part of his life, Nathan had a standing invitation to drop by and edit when the script desperately needed a rewrite. Now let us be straight about this story that Mike just read for us from the lectern. I wonder if we hear this story and Nathan's editorial regarding David's sin, and we think, oh, it's all about sex. There, I said it from the pulpit, and I feel good. This is certainly a story about immorality and conquest, a greedy grasp for more power and more possessions. David is not looking for another wife. He has more wives than he knows what to do with. He is looking for he's not even looking for an affair. David is looking for a conquest, the result of another power trip. God tells David through Nathan's storytelling that David has come to be possessed by all of his possessions. In his obsession with possession, say that 5 times real fast. In his obsession with possession, David begins to take what isn't his to take, rather than to ask the divine giver of all he has. David has lost the God factor in all of his equations. Sometimes God specializes in the bony finger in the face. And sometimes God specializes in the still, small voice from behind. And sometimes God specializes in a good shove or a kick in the posterior. A story is always welcomed, and before there is a finger or a whisper or a kick or a shove, there is always a story. Nathan didn't come to David to tell him he did something wrong. He came to David and told him a story that appeared totally unrelated to the situation. Nathan's story is a sheep story, one that a shepherd can easily grasp and with which he can readily identify. And David was that little shepherd boy. So David could understand this story. And in Nathan's story, just read out of the book of 2 Samuel, the sacrificial lamb is described as an animal that was made by the shepherd into a family pet. In describing this animal, Nathan is trying to draw relational parallels into times when David himself might have made a pet out of his own lambs, might have fed a lamb from his own cup. Nathan, the storyteller and editor, then is using all of the emotional power he can muster at his disposal. Nathan is not just spinning a yarn, but telling a story with a very important message with significant consequences for David, his kingdom, his family, and his future. By not drawing a direct parallel between David's situation with Bathsheba and the lamb story, Nathan is appealing to the poet in David. Now, every editor knows how to spring traps with stories. Nathans don't tell stories to play games or beat around the bush. They tell stories because story and image are the most infectious transmitters of truth. Nathan's story sounded deep within David long before David felt the sting of its bite. Author Leonard Sweet goes on to say, the gospel always has a sting in its tail, the sting of truth, or more accurately, the double sting of truth and consequences. Nathans care as much as you do about finding the right word or putting the right foot in the right place. Nathan is welcome because this is not an editorial critic with icicles in his or her heart. This is a person who believes in you and wants the best for you. Nathan is a trusted surgeon who heals the heart with a scalpel. In biblical language, Nathan speaks the truth in love. Nathan wanted David to catch himself in his own sin. Nathan is not someone who rushes in to tell you the truth, but someone who helps you to do the truth. It may not come as a surprise for you, but an intentional interim minister is often cast in the role of a Nathan. One of the ways in which I have been trained to function in this specialized ministry is as the holder of the mirror. The way this works is when there is a question raised or a situation encountered which the interim minister knows is central to that local church's identity or its stated mission or goals or visions, the imaginary mirror comes out and the interim minister holds it up and asks the question, is this really who you are? Or is this consistent with where you have said you want to go? Another way of viewing this is an intentional interim minister is an editor, someone who helps you to clarify your story, to make it more vibrant, clearer, to help you to be more clear and true to the story you say God gives you as a congregation. The story you say informs you as a church. You may not realize this, but you are a power-filled, awesome, and daunting group of people. Do you realize that? You are a power-filled, awesome, and daunting group of people. You are more daunting sometimes as a group than you are as individuals, but sometimes I wouldn't even go that far. I would even go so far as to say you are able to hold your own more than easily. And as your Nathan, I try to speak the truth to your power. In this way, then, I am your editor. Now, Leonard Sweet says that a Nathan will do three things. Number one, a Nathan will help you get under your skin. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? A Nathan will help you get under your skin. The problem is seldom out there, folks. The problem is seldom somebody else's fault or somebody else's issue. The problem is usually in here. Right here. The same thing that stirs our basest motives also inspires our noblest acts. Have you ever noticed that?